say the Historical Society, we call ourselves the guardian of the stories. We keep stories of the past, the way life used to be in those days. And this is an ancient history because I can remember it. Back in the day, we had home delivery of milk. And you would put your milk box out on the porch and you had a standing order. And Sullivan Dairy would come around and they would leave their round bottles. Were before World War II. They went to square. Pasteurized product builds them strong. So they would come and leave your order, whether it be milk or possibly cottage cheese. And if you had the standing order, and if you had extra that you wanted, there was a little card that you put in the neck of the bottle, and you would turn up the wheel to tell the delivery man what you wanted extra for the day. And for those of us of my age and younger, when we went to school, they had the milk machine, and for 2 cents, you could get your bottle of chocolate or white milk. Of course, we always chose white milk because it's healthy. And it was in the cooler, and you slid it across to the bar where you pulled it up, and you would get your 2 cents worth of milk. You went to have your cup of coffee instead of your glass of milk at the cafe, you would end up, your creamer came in a handy little bottle, not in a big pitcher or in a plastic cup of something that you don't know what it's made out of. You would get cream in a creamer. Back in those days, things were different for the smokers when you rolled your own cigarettes. Weren't all prepackaged. And when you rolled your own cigarette, they were kind of loose, and it took about 3 puffs and it was all gone. So someone in Sullivan started a company, the Easy Cigarette Maker. And you could buy their handy machine, and you could buy actually filter, or you could use the regular paper, and you would clamp their little device on the table. You would put your tobacco in here, you would slide your paper or your tube on the end and grind it down and pack your tobacco in, so you would have a nice tightly packed cigarette. So that was manufactured in Sullivan. We also have down there a large military display of various uniforms and items, starting with World War I, a helmet and a uniform. Then we have the World War II uniforms. We have a dress uniform for the modern. We have a Colonel Medical Corps Colonel's uniform. We also have the numerous World War II uniforms, and when you were discharged from the Army in World War II, they give you a little patch. It was a yellow patch with kind of a duck in the circle in it. It acquired the affectionate nickname of the ruptured duck. And on many of the World War II uniforms, you see that patch that the veterans proudly wore. We also have down there a collection of antique medical instruments donated to us by an old Lovington doctor, and we have a display of those, and you look at some of them, you were glad that they weren't using them on you back in the 1920s or 30s. And we have a large collection of arrowheads, other Indian artifacts that were found in Dora and Marrowbone townships. So there are many things down there to learn, and we invite you all down.
Winifred Titus Sentel was born in San Francisco, 1873, and grew up, lived a few years in San Luis Obispo, and she says in her book that her first language was Spanish because she played with the Spanish kids there in San Luis Obispo. Her father, Joseph, grew up in Indiana and then went to college in Ohio. Her mother, Louisa, came to this country at the age of 5, and from a little town in Germany, then they all moved back to Sullivan, and her father built the Titus Opera House, which is right down the block, and it was acclaimed, nationwide as one of the best opera houses. She says in her book that the downstairs, he was pretty smart because he had stores on the first floor and had the opera house on the second and third floor with an apartment, and that's where they lived when they moved back. So she tells how when she played house, she played on the stage, and there were actors and opera singers and pianists and orchestras, and she literally grew up playing on stage with these wonderful people, and so she really had it in her blood. And at some point, when they decided that she really had some talent, they took her to Chicago and on the train, and she became a student of Signor Carpe. She was a student of his for quite a while, music, all kinds of music, singing, piano, and the great part was by the time she got to Europe, she could speak English, French, Spanish, German, and Italian. So when she got these parts or had to sing opera in one of these languages, she knew how to sing it and how to react with it. 1918, she married George A. Sentel, who was the Moultrie County Circuit Judge, and that's where I come in. He was my great-grandmother's brother, which makes me a great-great-nephew to George and Winnie, so that's how I guess I get to tell the story. Her legacy is amazing in this town. When she passed, she had a trust that lasted 60 years. It was pretty much an unbreakable trust. The home, she decided that as she was getting older, and she had the means, but she saw a lot of women in town who didn't have the means, who were widows, and she thought, my big home with, 6 bedrooms, I can't imagine how many hundreds of women found refuge there and stayed there and lived probably a pretty darn good life. The second building that's pretty impressive is the Elizabeth Titus Memorial Library. Elizabeth was her grandmother on her father's side. And once again, another story of a strong woman who was a widow very early and had to keep the farm and the business and the house. She learned, I think, from her grandmothers how to work these businesses. Third building, when the Illinois National Guard Armory was sold downtown and they built a new one, she bought the old building and named it the George A. Sentel Masonic Lodge, and then donated the building to the Illinois Masons so they would have a lodge here in town. So it still carries his name. The final memorial, not a building, but in this will this trust that lasted 60 years, the city of Sullivan was named as the beneficiary. And there was 1,000 acres on the north end of town. So when the trust dissolved a year or so ago, it had to be executed, and the city of Sullivan, the will is very clear, and she was very clear, and that the land was to be sold, not given to the city. The land was to be sold, and the proceeds were to be given to the city, in her words, for municipal improvements. So when the auction came about, I brought about $11 million. So she gifted the city $11 million, 60 years after her death.
In 1977, we got a taste of what it was like to play in the tournament. We had seen enough to know that we had a good chance when it came to tournament time. And we looked forward to that next season. To get to the tournament, then that was it. That was the only thing that we were concerned about. That's really the only thing I remember about that year. And it makes for a great senior year of high school when you have an experience like that. The next season didn't play out like we had wanted, we had planned. One of our players, one of our better players, and definitely our tallest player, he had a broken leg in football. So we weren't real sure how that season was going to play out, and we didn't have any expectations. His name was John D. And he came back mid-January, if I'm not mistaken. And we were about a 500 team at that point. He had healed up enough. Coach Wagner played him against Monticello. We lost to them, and I think it was the second loss to Monticello. I think after that, we started to get our rhythm, and we started to play together. After the Monticello game, if I'm not mistaken, we finished the season winning 11 of 14, maybe 8 in a row. So we built up some momentum, playing fairly well. And when we hit tournament time, we had some confidence. Sectional, we actually pulled out a game against Monticello. We played Monticello again for the third time. We beat them in a close game, and that buoyed our confidence quite a bit. We played Chrisman in the sectional finals, and we beat them handily, so it was off to the super section. In the super, we were matched up against Mount Pulaski, one of the best teams in the state. I don't remember the ranking at the time, possibly a top 5 team at the time. We were supposed to play one of the better teams in the state, small school, Sullivan. I don't know that too many people gave us much of a chance. That was scheduled for a Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. Snowstorm hit. A famous Illinois 70s winter. The game was delayed, pushed back actually till Thursday. It was a good game, but we actually, we won by double digits. We led most of the game by double digits, and it was completely unexpected. So the reaction was incredible. Thursday night, Mount Pulaski win. We come back home, greeted, obviously, by thousands of students and people in town. Havana was a great team. And I don't think that any other school in the tournament had traveling issues or had snowstorm issues. We were the only ones to play the night before. So I'm positive it had an effect. It was amazing to see that many people and to experience that, even though it wasn't the end result we wanted. It was incredible, and that made us realize through community effort that it was a big deal. And it really wasn't about the wins and losses, that it was a special experience for a lot of people. I do appreciate the fact that people remember it at all. It was an amazing run for us. Small school, small group of friends. I think just the fact that they remember it, period, is special to us.
Back in the 60s, they were raising money up from the government, Everett Dirksen was, to get things built, and LBJ wanted votes. And what they did is they built Lake Shelbyville, Lake Carlisle, and the Sullivan Civic Center were the 3 big projects for locally around here. And the Sullivan Civic Center was originally one of the only ones that had a swimming pool in it, because this was built for the community to use, just not a meeting room. So with that, they got the money from the government, and it was built, and they put the beams came in on railroad cars to build the Civic Center. And most of the people that worked on the Civic Center were local contractors and people that worked in town. You knew them. The structure was the biggest structure built in Sullivan at the time. So, I mean, it is a well-built building, and people enjoy it. They have fun there. The gym. They play basketball. We saw our kids play basketball in that gym. It is a facility that heightened the expectations of the town, and it made it a lot better for factories. When they brought people in, engineers and stuff, they could see what facilities they had here, and engineers and other professional people liked the town, and they really enjoyed it. It's the only facility locally, from Bethany to Arthur to Windsor, all of those places, this is the only pool, big pool like this. And it is a great facility.
In 1925, the city of Sullivan had a vision, and it was a vision to have employment. Sullivan was very distressed. They had no factories, but they had a lot of businesses and professional and farmers. It's a farming community. So Brown Shoe Company in St. Louis, they were going to pick several small towns. Sullivan put in for one, and they told him what they had to do to get going, and they needed $125,000. And in 1926, that was like millions, because we're close to the Depression, everybody's poor. They had a deadline of October 1st, 1929, and they had to have the money, or otherwise Brown Shoe would move on to someone else. And days before that, they had all but $8,000. Well, $8,000 was a lot of money, but there were business people and professional who got together and they donated the rest. So the Brown Shoe is coming to Sullivan, and it was a big deal. The first pair of shoes came off the line June 1930, and they presented the pair of shoes to a business person here in Sullivan. The shoes are in the Historical Society Museum in Sullivan. And at the peak of Brown Shoe in Sullivan, they've employed 400 people. They generated a lot of ladies' shoes. I started my shoe factory career in 1959. My aunt worked there, and she got me a job working in the summer as summer help. We didn't make a lot of money, but boy, to a high school girl, that was quite a bit. Then when I graduated from high school in 1961, I was hired. I was working at the shoe factory on the 3rd floor, and I was a stitcher. And my boss said, "You are gonna have to start taking breaks." So back then, the break consisted of everybody going out to smoke. So every time they would go smoke, I would go with them, but I never did smoke. But I sure learned a lot from my two friends. And that always made me tickled, because he was right. The more breaks you take, the better production you get. And that was all about piecework back then. The more shoes you did, the more you made. My family all worked there. They often said, if somebody in the Risley, England family dies, we will have to close the shoe factory down to let them all go to the funeral. In 1968, we moved to a modern one-story building on the south edge of Sullivan. The shoe factory did close in 1975 because foreign imports were coming in, but we didn't have to depend on welfare. People were working because of Brown Shoe. A small town during the Depression, and a shoe factory that saved us.
Yes, and we're back. Woohoo! We are back. Oh, that was a great story right there to end up that segment. Judy Featheringhill, we are hoping you're watching tonight. You've helped promote this all over Facebook and all other places. We're so glad that you were part of that story tonight.
Oh my goodness, that day that Judy came and told that story, it was so much fun. I mean, her and her little sister, they were up on that stage. They were stars for the day, and it was so fun and so sweet. And then when she told the story about going out for those smoke breaks and never smoked a day in her life, but she learned a lot.
Yep.
So
that's right.
What a great story. We know that you are loving these stories, that the excitement that we feel in this studio is amazing, and your calls are just getting us all pumped up. So please pick up the phone right now if you haven't already called, and if you have called, call again and get some more DVDs. Call for your neighbors or your friends or people in other states. One DVD is $75. 2 or more DVDs are $60 each. You just cannot beat that deal. It's great, and you get 17 amazing stories.
That's right. The phones are silent right now. We don't want them silent. You guys have had a phone blitz every break right now, and we need the first person to call right now, and then we'll give you a shout out. So get those phones ringing. We're going to give some shout outs to people that we didn't get to last time. We have Julie Shalio from Alexandria, Virginia, watching tonight, streaming online.
Yes.
And we've also got the Woodworth family. Chuck Woodworth was one of our storytellers, so thank you for calling in and supporting him.
That's a guy that loves Sullivan.
Yes, so there's a phone. All right, there's the first one right there. We've got Aaron Jesse from Sullivan, and then we've also got Sarah Hazlitt from Beatrice City, and I'm told that she runs Lake Shelbyville. Who do you have?
Be sure and give the mayor a call and talk to him about that. I have Judy Cole from North Carolina. Oh my goodness, that's really getting close to my area. And then Rob Young, he is with Moultrie County Pest Control. He called in and from Sullivan. Mike Keown, one of our storytellers. Mike would have been here tonight, but he and his wife, they wanted to just do a little getaway, just a little break before the winter sets in too much. So Mike, he's watching us on Facebook. Mike, thank you. Yep. You're so sweet.
He told the American Legion story.
He did.
So if you're at the American Legion, give us a call right now and let us know how it's going and order a DVD.
That's right. And then Don Young from Sullivan called in. So thank you all so much. And you all have just touched our hearts, and just the way that you have called in tonight. And I don't know, how many DVDs are we up to now?
We're up to, I think, 45 or so DVDs. That's
that is
awesome.
Just amazing. So, but we need you to keep the phones. Don't dial on us now. Keep the phones ringing. Keep these storytellers busy taking orders for DVDs. This is how WEIU, it helps us to be able to keep producing great stories just like this one. So pick up the phone. One DVD is $75. 2 or more are $60 each. You cannot beat that deal. It is amazing. And you get 17 stories. That's pretty cool, right?
It is cool. And I'm going to interview one of our storytellers right now while she's not on the phone. I've got Amanda Glazebrook right over here. And Amanda was the storyteller for the girls basketball win state. Now, has anyone won state since?
No, not since. No.
Not since 1990.
91. Yeah.
Now you're still friends with those girls.
Oh yeah. They've called or texted me to heckle me tonight. That's probably them, right? There we go.
Every
There we
time I
go.
try to talk to Amanda, the phone rings, and that's okay with us. You keep those phones ringing tonight. There we've got Steve Ginny back there. We've got Paul Stone and Richard Glazebrook still.
Oh my
well,
goodness.
somebody else. We've got one more phone to ring,
more
and we've got a
phone. Come
phone
on.
blitz again. Who's
Call
going to be
the
that
number.
next call
That's right.
now?
You'll
get
get to
us all
talk to
pumped
the
up once
mayor
again.
of Sullivan. The mayor is begging for you to call him. So pick up the phone and give us a call and get your DVD tonight. These are great Christmas gifts. It's about that time of year. So please, I think all of them are busy now. Every one of them's on the phone again. That's so great.
Yeah. I want to let you know that we're doing our best to follow COVID policy tonight, and we've got wipes and different things here when we're switching phones and things like that. We're doing our best to wipe things down and keep things clean and sanitary and keeping our masks on and reminding all of us that we're going to get through all of this together. And tonight is a celebration because we've made it this far. It took 7 months to get to this point. We had a couple of delays getting this program through the production phases with everything that's gone on over the past few months, but tonight you're helping us celebrate Sullivan by calling in and ordering all these DVDs. It's wonderful, and we want to thank you for that.
Absolutely. And you know what? Wasn't it worth it? I can say tonight it was worth it. It was worth the wait to get to hear these wonderful stories from people that love their town so much. And it shows in every story that's told just how much they care. I mean, the Winifred Titus Sentel story, I mean, she made sure that she took care of her town. That 60 years after her death, $11 million came to the town.
Yeah.
And that is so wonderful. Talk about love. So be sure and we're going to go to another segment, or
not quite yet.
Not
we got
yet.
some more
Oh my
shout outs
gosh,
and some more
this is
DVDs.
great.
I'm just grabbing the paper and the shout out here. We've got Donald from Sullivan. We want to thank you for calling in and putting your order in. We'll get those DVDs out soon because we're ahead of the game right now, and we've got some that we're going to be printing tomorrow and getting into the mail. Who do you have there?
I have got Roger Glazebrook just called in from Sullivan. So
your twin brother?
Wow!
Oh my goodness. Well, he called Amanda. No, he called Paul.
He called Paul.
Well, we're all family here tonight,
you know,
so
that's
it's okay.
it. For sure. So thank you. Thank you, Roger, for calling. Thank you for supporting your town. I know 4,400 people. We need to have these phones keep ringing. Pick up the phone and call and say, I want a DVD. I want 2 DVDs or 3 DVDs. I want to give them to my family members. And you know what? The great thing is you can tell us exactly what you want me to do, who you want me to send it to. I'll send them all out for you with a sweet little note that tells them just how much we love them and how much we love Sullivan.
Absolutely. Hey, Amanda, are you free back there?
Now.
Okay, now what were you going to say just a few minutes ago when you were talking about
That
your
I've
friends?
had text message and some phone calls from the teammates heckling me about the story. But they liked it. They said it was a good story.
Well, it is a good story, and it's a great story that's still carrying on today, and
Yeah.
all of you still get together, is that correct?
Yep. Usually once a year if we can. Yeah, we try to. Yeah.
Since 1991.
Yep. And we give each other a hard time the whole time. So,
That's
yeah.
all right,
Yep.
and you can still give her a hard time tonight. You're right here on live
That's
TV.
right.
It's okay
That's
with
right.
us.
That's
We're
right.
glad you're here tonight. Thank you for being here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, we have some more shout outs. Nick Grooms from Sullivan called in, and Roger Tice called in and got a DVD from Sullivan, and then Philip Martin. You know, I've heard so many great things about Philip Martin. So Philip, thank you so much for calling from Sullivan, Illinois. I know you love your town, and it certainly shows. We're so thankful for everybody that's calling in tonight, and we want to keep the phones ringing. So Amanda is free. Pick up the phone and call. 1 DVD is $75. 2 or more are $60 each. DVDs are going out of here tomorrow.
And we're
so
happy
excited.
about that.
Yes,
I've got
we
some more
are.
challenges I want to put out there because they seem to be working a little bit for us tonight. If you go to the Civic Center, if you go there to swim, if you go there to work out, if you go there to hold events when we're not in a pandemic, I want you to give us a call tonight because Bill Hagan told that story, and it's an amazing building.
It really
It's a
is.
cool looking building, and to have that in a small town like this is amazing. So I want to put a challenge out for you, and I also want to put a challenge out for those people who played boys basketball in Sullivan, or if you're currently playing, I want you to support John McDevitt, the storyteller, for that because the basketball seems to be a thing in Sullivan.
Oh, absolutely. And when John was telling his story, the heart. I mean, he just reminiscing and talking about how it felt to get to go to Boy State. I mean, that was pretty wonderful. And these experiences, I think of if we didn't do this is our story series that we do, how many stories in these towns would never be told? And it's so rich and it's so rewarding to be a part of this and to get to share in the lives of these people. We have come to love Sullivan, Illinois.
We have, and you
We
know what
are
is
so happy.
something else to be proud of with this town is Paul Stone back here. He's been a part of Sullivan for several years, and his wife has taught in the town. They know a lot of people, but he's quite the historian, as you can tell from the stories. We had to use his stories 2 different ways because he was just a wealth of information, and that museum in Sullivan, the Moultrie County Museum is full of all kinds of those different artifacts that you can enjoy and see all the rich history that Sullivan has to offer as well.
Absolutely, and he was right there every step of the way. He was so excited when we would go over and get him to help us look for stuff. Paul was all in every time. I have one more shout out, Leon Bowling.
Do you have any?
Bowling. I hope I say these names right. Please forgive me. This is just hillbilly talk, I think. But 5 more DVDs. My goodness, 5 DVDs.
That's awesome.
This is so
Thank you so much.
great.
I think that deserves a round of applause right there.
Yay!
Yes. Hey, the next segment, we've got Mike Piper coming to tell a story about fire department and the Blue Fire trucks.
Blue Fire trucks.
We've got Jerry Woods with the Forest Bow Woods and Chuck Woodworth with the City of Sullivan. Do we have another shout out before we go back to the show? 2 more
DVDs to Shirley Evans in St. Joseph, Illinois. Wow, thank you so much. Keep the phones ringing. We're so excited. You know what? We'll stay here all night long as these phones ring.
Absolutely, but right now we're going to get back to the show and we're going to hear those 3 stories that we just mentioned. So don't go anywhere. Sullivan, this is our story right now.
Yes.